Say this is from that Cage of Science, the hourly, year-round data we collect. We look at chlorophyll fluorescence to give us some idea of the amount of phytoplankton in the water. Those are the single-celled algae. That's the base of the food web, and generally what we'd expect. Again, this is the same kind of graph chart with January through December, months across the bottom. So we're moving through time, left to right. Each colored line is a different year, with that thicker purple colored line being 2020, that very unusual year we're trying to get through. And what we'd expect is a fairly quiet winter followed by a fairly pronounced bloom of phytoplankton in the spring. This kicks off the productivity in the bay for the year, followed by moderate amounts of chlorophyll, of phytoplankton, and then maybe a smaller, moderate fall bloom. What we saw, and I'm going to take your attention to the green line of 2019 all the way back to last December, where we normally see very little amounts of phytoplankton in the water. As you can see in previous years, December showed a very large bloom of phytoplankton. So when we're usually quiet as far as these blooms of algae, we had a very large bloom. That bloom died off. Now we're on the purple line in January, but we came back with a second bloom in February, which died off, and then a third very large bloom through March and April, followed by a fourth bloom in May. So just a very busy, very productive, again, very unusual season. Lots and lots of phytoplankton early. What was really interesting was when these blooms did die off, like these periods where there's almost no phytoplankton in the water, June and then October, those times we were out and we had incredible water clarity, like Ivy mentioned, and it was extraordinary water clarity that I hadn't experienced before. And that was when we had these very low amounts of phytoplankton in the water.
So is that where, I'm sorry, there were places where we saw to the bottom, and I hardly ever know visible to the bottom. It's like,
It seems like every mariner we had any contact with was telling us the same thing. And so this is where we get into the speculation part. We were having incredible droughts that were not bringing a lot of runoff right into the bay. And we had these intense phytoplankton blooms early in the season. You think there was just no sediment, no nutrients? The nutrients had been all used up and nothing new was coming in unless we have a rainstorm? Or what do you think?
Generally speaking, yes, we very little phytoplankton at the end as a bloom crashes, and lack of suspended sediment in the water from the lack of runoff. Certainly made the water much clearer than usual.